where somebody hardly drinks, so when they do, they make up for it, and they don't know the limits.
Going out, getting absolutely hammered.
Do you drink alcohol?
Yes, occasionally.
How often do you drink?
I'll maybe drink once, twice a month.
I don't drink alcohol at all at the moment because I've been having a little bit of trouble sleeping. So I decided to go to the doctors and find out what was happening and stuff. And he said basically he thinks it's an underlying problem with maybe a bit of depression.
I don't drink very often, it's very, very rare. I could go for 3 months, 4 months, but when I do, I can't just have one. I have got to carry on drinking until the point where I am absolutely drunk. And I come home early hours in the morning.
So I'm possibly going to seek a bit of help with that. But I took it on my own back to not drink alcohol anymore after reading it's like a heavy depressant and stuff like that.
Right. Sometimes I go to parties, not very regularly, and that stopped because the girl had an incident at her last party. And then at my sister's house, I drink, but not very much.
There are times where we've had situations where we've had complaints from residents around certain areas of Lancaster saying that they've heard and they can hear a group of kids in a children's play area, and they said, well, there's a group there, we think they're drinking, is anyone can go and have a look? So we'll go down and have a look, and we'll try and address the situation calmly and quietly. Sure enough, we do come across groups of teenagers. Sometimes there's just 2 or 3, sometimes there's as many as 20 in these groups in certain areas. And we try and speak to them and say, look, you know, you're underage, you shouldn't be drinking. We've had some complaints, I'm afraid you're going to have to go. But in this instance, we're going to have to confiscate some of your alcohol, because if we leave you with it, we know you're going to get worse.
We thought it would be a good idea to get some rum and go and lie in a field with blankets during summer. And I got really, really, really drunk, and I was throwing up like this bright red sick everywhere. And my friends just left me, apart from one person, and it was really creepy because he was just rubbing my back and I didn't really know him and I was quite drunk.
And we've had situations where some of the teenagers are absolutely so drunk they're falling over and they've no idea where they are, who they're with, how much they've drunk, and they are just absolutely out of it completely.
I know somebody who got very, very drunk in Spain, so drunk that he did pass out, and he woke up in a bush and he'd been robbed. And he wasn't too sure what had happened to him. But he was fine. Actually, he was all right. But it could have not been all right, you know. So that was a bit scary.
The law is that if you're under 18, say you're 14 years old and what have you, say you're 14, you can actually drink alcohol with, as long as you're with somebody over the age of 18 and if you're having a meal. So if you're having a meal, you can have a drink. But if you're going to be in a public place and you wanted to drink, you have to be 18 and above to drink in a public place.
How old do you think you're going to be before you drink alcohol?
18, 19, 20 in them.
Why are you going to leave it till you're that old?
Because I don't want to get too drunk and I don't want to damage my body.
Lots of city centres have a no drinking zone areas, so it's not as if you can actually walk down the street of the high street, Market Street, say, in the town centre with a can of beer in your hand. Those days have gone. And it's to protect everyone else and what have you, because we don't want broken glass and bottles all over the place. So with regards to drinking age, 18 and above, if it's lower, then as long as you're having a meal and you're with somebody of appropriate age.
I mean, I remember on my 20th birthday, because I was at university then, getting very, very, very drunk with some friends and walking through the city centre, and I needed a wee. And so I disappeared to go for a wee. And then I did wake up on somebody's lawn, all on my own. And the only thing that woke me up was the chinking of the milk bottles from the milkman delivering the milk in the morning. And my friends had just gone into town and didn't know where I was. You know, and that was a bit, that could have gone either way, really.
No one's ever tried to start a fight with me before. I don't know why, but I just generally try and keep out of people's ways. And if I see a fight starting, then I'll keep away from it. I won't try and break it up because it's nothing to do with me.
Right, so I think 25 policy means that if a customer doesn't look 25, then we will ask for ID. Because if you think the legal age for alcohol is 18, it gives them a 7-year gap to try and assess the customer's age, providing an umbrella for our staff to actually not serve anybody under the age of 18. And that's what we want. We want to protect our teams in terms of challenging. Where a member of staff has made the decision not to sell, to challenge, then that decision is final. We don't move from that decision. So if a colleague comes behind them and says, it's okay, I know them, then we train our staff not to serve, because it's their first impression of the customer that they've had to challenge 25 at that point. Once they've challenged, it's no ID, no sale. So they can't provide us with an authentic form of ID, driving licence, passport, pass accredited card, then we would completely refuse the sale.
I mean, I used to go to my friends and my mum used to know. She'd say, are you going up to your friends? I'd say, yeah, I'm sleeping there. Are you having a drink? I'd be 16, I'd left school, and you think you're old enough and you think it's dead good. Yeah, we'd have a bottle of wine and she'd have a bottle of wine and my other friend would have a bottle of wine. Then it went on to 2020. As you got older, we used to take that out with us and drink that as well in your handbag and go out, because it was just easier to take out. I used to work on a Saturday, I used to get £13 a week, and it was like my money to go out with. So it wasn't a lot of money then, but it was for a kid, do you know what I mean? And as I got 17, 18, and when I was legal, it was boring.
I don't know, I just think that with drinking comes worse things, because when I drink, I then have to smoke because you're at a party and it's like, yeah, I'll just have a fag. Like, it's just like, I think just bad things happen from drinking. It's not very nice.
Recently, I had a complaint from a resident saying that there's a chap that comes into one of the local off licences. He buys alcohol, cans of lager, I do believe it was, in a big pack, and then he goes outside the shop, goes a little bit just away around the corner, and then hands it over to some teenagers, 16, 17-year-old girls. So I took it on board to be in the area around about the time and it was happening. Friday evening time it was, usual weekend times. So this happened, I monitored it, watched it, and saw this chap come out of the shop, and he's plain as day without any worry about it. He came out of the shop, went round the corner and gave it to these girls.
We've been working with the licensed trade now for a number of years in reducing the supply route of alcohol to young people, and we've been extremely successful by working in partnership to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, that has displaced the problem, and our information and our data suggests now that by far the greatest supply route of alcohol to young people is by parents themselves, providing their own young people with alcohol, who then in turn provide their friends with alcohol. And what we'd say is we would ask parents to think and act responsibly in relation to this issue.
No one can stop no child. They're going to go out and they're going to do it, aren't they? So I'd rather know that if they are doing it, that they're going to be safe doing it and they're in the right crowd, and so that temptation's not there, that they are going to hurt themselves or do something stupid. But I can't stop them.
And then it was just a matter of keeping an eye on this chap, of where he was going. So After a while, I knocked on his door, and his wife came to the door. I explained who I was, and is it possible I can have a quiet word with you? And the lady there, she says, yes, fine, come in, what's the problem? I said, well, I've recently found out that your husband has been to this certain shop and he's gone and bought some alcohol and given it to some children underage. The lady, the wife, she was devastated. She said, no, you've got the wrong house, surely you've got the wrong house. I says, I'm sorry, but I can assure you I've seen what I've seen and I've followed your husband back here. Is it possible to have a word with him? So he came into the room eventually, and the wife says, what's this about, you buying alcohol for young girls? What's going on? And because he'd been caught outright by me saying I've seen him, and it's on CCTV in the shop itself, and also seen him come out of the shop with the alcohol when just going around the corner, he couldn't get out of it. And he realised he'd been caught, and he was heavily fined for supplying drink to minors, children underage. The shop that I got the CCTV from, they was very, very happy with the result, because at the end of the day, they've got a duty of care, and also if trading standards get involved, the staff that sold the stuff, they could be questioned as well, and they could possibly lose their job if it was proven that they knew this man and they knew he was passing it on.
If staff are caught selling to underage children, then first it can lead to disciplinary procedure, so they can lose their job. It can be a £90 fixed penalty notice. And then if it's decided that it's taken to court, then that fine can be risen up to £5,000.
I worked in a pub, and then working in the pub actually opened my eyes to seeing what people were actually really like. When you're sober and seeing how people are, you used to think, God, am I like that? I mean, they were sick. They used to put pints of sick on the table, and I go, I'm not cleaning that up. Not a sniff.
For young people, I'd more just say, how's it possibly helping you set up? You can drink when you set up. Until then, just think about, your future and schooling and stuff like that, because that's one thing I missed. Not through drink, but I didn't bother at school. And I regret that now. And I can imagine that people who drink young aren't so bothered about school, more bothered about drinking, girls and blah, blah, blah. And I think that I would just try and say, listen, look about that. You can drink later. You don't need to drink now. It's not that important.
To me, I don't see the point, because you sort of see the statuses on Facebook on a Friday night, going to town, and then you'll see them on a Saturday morning saying, oh, I'm never going to drink again, kill me. And, then you wait maybe a week and it's Friday, let's go drink. So I don't see the point of it. I don't see the point of going out, getting drunk, just to feel bad the next day. I can understand why they do it, they're trying to be social with other friends because all their other friends are drinking, but I think you can do that without drinking into the excess, where you're losing your phone, you're losing your bank cards, and you're not remembering what you did, and you're issuing apologies like on Facebook, if anybody saw me last night, I'm sorry. So I don't see the point of that.